Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the Pastel and Don't Tell collection from Holo Taco. So there are 6 pastel creams here all together. I will link the Holo Taco website down below where you guys can check these out. 6 polishes all together, and I will get into the swatches. So if a polish comes in a box, I try to show you the box because I know a lot of thought goes into designing these things and I don't want to just throw them away and never show them. So this is the box that the Holo Taco polishes come in. The first polish is called Banana Medicine, and this is described as a pastel banana cream yellow. So I want to start out by showing you guys the brush on this. It's going to be very hard to see because the brush has very light bristles and the polish is very light, but you can see there's kind of a notch taken out in that, I guess on your screen it would be your upper right corner of that brush. So I had a little bit of trouble with this swatch and then had trouble with the next swatch and decided to go back and look at the brushes, and I was able to see that while all of the brushes, because I did analyze them all after this, were very unevenly cut, it really did affect the application of this polish and the next one. The curve of the brush is not very even, and on almost all the brushes, there's like a chunk taken out of one side or the other. Now, there could be a lot of other polishes that I've reviewed recently that have poorly cut brushes. I just haven't noticed because it hasn't affected the application. Once the application started feeling a little weird, I looked a little closer and noticed that these two were not great, and then looked at the rest of the collection and saw that they were all kind of weird. And I know I won't shut up about this brush, but I also wanted to say that if it was just one weird brush in the collection, I would kind of just mention it in passing because that happens with every brand. Sometimes they get a little weird and quality control doesn't catch them, but it was every brush in this collection, so I feel like I should mention it. On to the actual swatches. So this had pretty decent coverage for a pastel yellow. It was a little bit streaky. I did think the formula was a little bit thick, but not like too thick. It was still like well within the range of normal. And I might not have even noticed that if the next polishes weren't a little bit thinner than this one. This was a little bit difficult for me to even out. I'm gonna blame that brush on this one because the formula still feels pretty good. It did cover completely for me in 2 coats, but it was a little bit of a sketchy 2 coats. It's hard to see on camera. There were still some slight streaks, so if you're really picky, you might want 3. So that is 2 coats of Banana Medicine. The next polish is called Pinky Swear, and this is described as a sweet baby pink pastel. Here's the chewed up brush on this one. It's a little bit easier to see than the last color. I'm not going to show you all of the brushes, but I'm showing this one because this also seemed to affect my application a little bit, even more so than Banana Medicine. The formula on this was thinner than the last polish, but again, still well within the range of normal, just a little bit thinner. I did struggle with the irregularity in the brush a little bit, and this was a bit more sheer than I was expecting. I thought this would be a little bit more of an opaque, creamy kind of pastel. Because this was a little bit thinner, it was still just a little more streaky than I was comfortable with on that second coat, so I did go back and add a 3rd coat. The 3rd did cover completely, and it wasn't like a sketchy 3 coats. It was a nice, solid 3 coats. So that is 3 coats of Pinky Swear. The next polish is called Too Good to Be Blue, and this is described as a sky blue pastel. Formula feels good on this one as well. It was a little bit sheer and a little bit streaky for me on that first coat, but it did level itself out very nicely. And I got a little carried away here with the painting. Despite it being a little more sheer on that first coat, it did build up totally fine in 2, and again was a nice solid 2-coater, nothing sketchy. I can't see anyone needing 3 coats here. So that is 2 coats of Too Good to Be Blue. The next polish is called Rest in Peach, and this is just described as a pastel peach. Again, formula felt good, a little bit sheer on that first coat. None of these are out of the ordinary in sheerness for pastel polishes. I think just because of the cult following that this brand has, I was expecting these to be like really outperforming all the other pastels this year. I think I was expecting something a little closer to like the Essie Spring Collection formulas from this year. Either way, this covered pretty well in 2 coats. This is one that was a little bit of a sketchier 2 coats, so I could see you needing 3 just depending on your application. So that is 2 coats of Rest in Peach. The next polish is called Serial Killer, and this is described as a marshmallow purple pastel. So this has a fantastic formula. It covers really well. It doesn't have that kind of crelly sheerness that the other polishes in the collection had. This is what I expected the whole collection to be formula-wise. Like, this is what I thought I was getting into with all of them. Great formula, covers easily in 2 coats. Really nice polish. So that is 2 coats of Serial Killer. The next polish is called Crime and Punishment, and this is described as a pastel mint. So I mentioned that I didn't like the cut on any of the brushes. This one was also kind of bad, like worse than the other ones. I wrote in my notes that I might have noticed that it was poorly cut even if I wasn't really scrutinizing them, but I'm not sure because it wasn't as egregious as the other 2 polishes that I talked about. The formula on this one felt really nice, and it built up totally fine for me in 2 coats. So that is 2 coats of Crime and Punishment. So I want to choose my words very carefully here. These are good pastels. They're good pastel polishes. They are not like exceptionally good pastel polishes though. I think from the hype around the brand, I had really, really high expectations, and I was a little let down, but not let down to the point where I think they're bad, if that makes sense. I was just expecting them to like really blow my mind, and they were just like normal pastels. The only one that I really didn't like, whoa, this did not take kindly to not being my favorite. I think I need to call a priest. So Banana Medicine is the only one that I really did not like. It was not like a bad polish, I just think it was the most difficult out of all of them. Color wise, I really like Crime and Punishment, but I will say that Serial Killer is the best formula out of the collection. I was really, really happy with the formula on this one, and I wish the rest of the collection had been more like this. And I think I said in the swatches that I was being very, very critical of this brand. I think just because I had such high expectations and then everything snowballed. I've tried Holo Taco in the past, and I liked the polishes that I tried previously a lot more than these. But I was not super happy with the brushes either. I had a couple brushes that actually affected the application. Most of the collection, it did not affect the application, but overall I found the brushes to be kind of rough, like they were cut kind of roughly. I also reviewed these metallics, which will be in a separate video, and the brushes were kind of rough in those bottles as well, but I didn't have any issues with application because of the brushes in that video. I like that collection a lot better as a little preview. Overall, I think these are pretty good pastels. I don't think there's any harm in getting them if you like them and you like the brand and you like the formula that I showed in the video, but I don't think they're like mind-blowingly good, if that makes sense. I actually think I like the formula from the Essie Spring collection better than these ones. I think the Essie Spring collection is probably like my standout pastels from this year. So that is the Holo Taco Pastel and Don't Tell collection. Again, I will link that website down below where you guys can check those out. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.